As Janice mentioned, Jane Arnold at Stanley, Black&Decker. And for those of you who have known me for years, it's quite new to be making things instead of chemicals, but that's where I am. And it's actually quite fascinating. I'm learning a lot about tools. My family's really impressed that I actually know what things are, like crow's feet and things like that. So I'm going to go over a little bit about my background and what brought me here, and some things that we're doing in discrete manufacturing, which has been a lot of fun for me, and just some topics about why does digital transformation fail, and what does the factory of the future really look like, and how do we get there. And this is based on from my experience and what we're actually doing at Stanley Black&Decker. So I've spent over 30 years in manufacturing. I guess 33 in chemical manufacturing, process control, automation, improvements. Started a long time ago migrating panel board instrumentation to DCS, and I spent a lot of time with the operators in the control room. One of the comments there about working in operations, I actually worked as an operator for 4 months. This was during a strike situation, and they put me on the board because they thought, well, you programmed it, you're working with the operators on improving it, so surely you can run the board. Hindsight, maybe not such a great idea, but it worked out for the 4 months that I ran the board. And while running the board, I developed this appreciation for operators, for those people with their hands closest to the process and what they really know. It doesn't matter what level you are in the organization and how many degrees you have and what you're doing. If you haven't got that muscle memory for running the process, then you don't know anything yet. So I really understand where this resistance from the workforce comes from, because many of the people telling them what to do don't have that practical experience. So I spent my 4 months actually revamping the control system, improving all the alarms, making them, dependent, smart alarms, I guess you could say, improving anything that wasn't running on control and things like that, and actually rewriting the training manuals and training the operators when they came back. So I thought they would hate me, but it worked out really well, and they loved what I did. From there, I actually moved companies. I was at the first company for 16 years, and the second company for another 16 years. You're not here? I don't know if I can pull it out. I'll try and talk to it.
Just pull it out to you.
Maybe we pull the whole stage up a little bit higher. So anyway, I spent the next 16 years at another chemical plant, and started there the same way, doing process control improvements and then automation, and I had a development opportunity as a plant manager. So I was first a unit lead for 2 units, and then we acquired some of the fence line assets, and then I was the train lead or plant manager of MDI intermediates at Covestro in Baytown. And of all the jobs that I've had over the last 30 years, that was actually my favorite. So while being a board operator was fun, actually being the plant manager was a lot more fun. 4 units, about 45 people, and every day there was a new problem. There was fire in the reactor, there was pump failure, there's a spill, there's something going on, and it was just this constant learning and improvement that we were doing, and it was really very exciting. So I was in some form of plant manager position for about 5 years, and I was offered an opportunity to head technology for the company globally, and so sure, why not? And moved in Germany and spent several years as the head of technology over manufacturing. And at that company, we actually were able to take decades of data and build an ecosystem such that we could predict improvements and improve the OEE. So which leads me to why did I join discrete manufacturing out of all the success that we've had. And I got COVID like everybody else and reassessed my priorities and decided I wasn't having enough fun and wanted to do something new. So I joined Stanley Black&Decker, and now I'm learning all about robotics and automation, so it's a lot of fun. So when I look at discrete manufacturing compared to chemical or oil and gas, it's all about the physical movements of things and the robotics and keeping the flow moving. When we look at our facilities, we might have a distribution center of 1.2 million square feet. There's tons of data. The cost of transfer across that floor is millions per day, and it's just a lot of moving parts. So there's a lot to keep up with, a lot of data that we need, and a lot of understanding that can help make us be more successful. So when I look at why does digital transformation fail, I remember reading an article last year in Forbes, and at the bottom, there's a link at the bottom to this, and there were some suggestions made by the Forbes Technical Council about what we're doing and how we see failure. And if I look at this list here, which I cannot, there it is, I would say I have seen every single one of these things happen and that lead to failure. And at Stanley, I think we've done them all at some point or another. And so I want to just give a couple of highlights on each category, and the ones in bold. So employees resistant to change. So as I was a plant manager in Baytown, you know, whenever corporate would push down a new technology or concept or something that we had to do, we would just wait and see what happens. Most of the time, they would be moving on to the next initiative and forgot about the last one, so we just ignored it and it went away and nobody did anything, right? So if we didn't feel like it actually supported manufacturing and what we were doing, we just ignored it. And so I understand, again, and appreciate how you try and get that engagement working. Poor onboarding of projects. So this is another example with the digital transformation that we've been doing at that company. You know, we're so used to sending an email or having a presentation and think that everyone gets it and understands and is on board. And I went to go visit a site and was asking, well, hey, how's this platform going? And, oh, well, we don't know what you're talking about. So we brought the vendors in and said, okay, bring your problems, let's solve them. And that engagement, actually engaging the process engineers, the unit supervisors with the vendors and solving problems, those 2 days, turned it around and they started using the technology to help them in the future. And then when we look at the last, my favorite topic, I didn't know the word data scientist at the time, but I really spent over 30 years of my career data mining. And the problem is the data quality. How do you know that you have good data? And is the data available in systems where you can easily access it? And at Stanley, I would say the answer is no. There's not much going on in the way of data. We built our own open source data historian, and we're just now connecting assets, so we're a little bit behind. So on the product side, fascinating technology that we're selling with our products. And then we have a couple of examples of excellence throughout the organization in manufacturing, but most of it we're really kind of at level 1 where we're trying to build it up. So when I joined Stanley, I'm all got starry eyes, about the robotics and all the fun stuff I was going to have, and this is really what I was expecting. Okay, I started visiting the sites, and this is what I saw. Okay, paper and sticky notes. I really had no idea how much paper and sticky notes were involved in discrete manufacturing. I didn't see that much in chemical manufacturing. They might have had a manual shift log or something like that, but most everything was electronic. So it's like, well, what do we do there? How can we have no data historian, no connected systems, and paper? What are we supposed to do to actually make a difference there? So when you look at how did this happen, so you got all the experts, the guys in the suits, making all the decisions of what's supposed to be happening. And at Stanley, I even had a couple of people tell me, oh, well, they don't know what they need. I'm going to give them what they need. And that doesn't work that way. You have to have engagement. The folks that we left out are those folks who know more than anybody else because they're dealing with it day to day. And that's really what we're doing different now, is actually doing a bottoms-up engagement. So what is the factory of the future? So when we look at what did we used to do in discrete and what we're doing now, what I'm showing here is that we can, with an MES system, connect this together and do some information there. And the human will look at stuff. But really what we're doing now is we actually have the human in between all of the systems and that hyperconnectivity to real-time data to make decisions. So I want to go back again to the human-centric approach. I've actually been saying this for a few decades, but I feel like it's finally catching on. So what does that mean is you want to augment the humans and not replace them. You really need that extra person to look over and make sure that whatever the technology is telling them is actually correct. I mean, for example, right before I came on this trip, my credit card was canceled because there was something that was 90 days old. It was actually a refund, not a charge that I didn't expense. But no, there was no humans actually involved in the process. It was an AI bot that canceled my card. And you've got to put that human back into manufacturing, into the technology, and really to get the best benefit out of it. And what we're doing at Stanley is we're really going to the shop floors, and we're trying to meet everyone where they're at, where are your pain points, and how can we help you. And we're seeing significant improvements at each site that we touch and as we start to do. And with the engagement model that we're employing and actually, creating citizen developers, we are rapidly increasing the value add from adding technology. So again, human-centric approach and augmenting operations is the key to success. And something my boss says here, so it says improve their work experience at the bottom. His saying is that our job is to make their job suck less. So we're doing everything we can to improve the operator experience because we know if we do that, then we're going to have a better company, better bottom line, happier people, less turnover, and all that, and that's what we're starting to see. So how are we doing that? And so we have decided on Tulip as our frontline platform. And at first I was thinking, oh, there's no way this is going to replace a standard MES or a control system or data historian. But we started to do these use cases one at a time. So physical inventory, work instructions. We even started connecting them to our equipment on the shop floor. So doing OEE, we can replace the UI with Tulip. There's really any number of things you can do, and it's easy to use. And I've always said, if you can imagine it, we can build it. And now actually it's true. And we're taking my second favorite thing, or maybe my first favorite, which is that human-centric approach and putting the humans at the middle of the solution and making sure that we do it right. So, and I bring back the ISA 95 model on MES and what we're doing there. And I started to compare, because I kept getting in these arguments with my colleagues about what's an MES and what's not an MES. And so I started to review how we talk about the different levels in that. And we actually use the same terminology on our shop floor. And so we started looking at, well, what are the use cases that we're doing and how does that fit? So we started by changing the culture at the sites by these safety applications, the 5S and the behavioral-based safety analysis, and getting people used to using devices in their day-to-day workflow. And then we started to connect the machines to it, and we're using Tulip as the first article inspection, and we have it connected to our quality system as well. So we can get the OEE, the run information from the machine itself or the shop floor asset, and we can contextualize it with the operator staying there and say, okay, the down code, if it wasn't in the PLC, then they can enter that information. And then if there's a quality issue, we can push it automatically into our quality system. And then the work instructions and physical inventory. At one location, they asked us to help with work instructions when they change SKUs on the product line. And so they scanned the barcode of the new products they're going to build, and the correct work instructions come up. So it's just super, super useful. So, and we do now, since I wrote this slide, have it connected to our ERP system. So when we do the physical inventory, we're no longer printing the paper and marking it up and shutting the plant down, but it's all a continuous improvement. So the key here, again, is the employees. The employees build the applications. We have a very small center of excellence that's on my team, but we actually are engaging the sites, and we have a champion at the site, and we're making them a citizen developer and helping them solve problems. So how do you get there? So our philosophy at Stanley, we have a long way to go, really, if we want to reach operations excellence across all of the sites. I think there's about 120 facilities. But you have to start with the basics. You have to make sure you've got your infrastructure in place and your management systems and production controls. All that needs to be in place, and you start collecting that data. So I have numerous connected factory projects going on where we're starting to connect the data to our data historian and just starting to visualize it. I mean, who would have thought you could see all your equipment running at the same time on one screen? And I didn't know this was a new concept. So it's really been kind of interesting to see how quickly, when the end user looks at something like, oh, well, can you do this too? And just really changing the way they approach manufacturing. And so our target in the next few years is to get to this level 3 state where we have all the data available, and then we switch from doing all the installation to actually data mining and supporting operations and making improvements by using the data properly. So as we are transforming operations or manufacturing and distribution at Stanley, it's really about the people, process, and technology. Site engagement is absolutely key. You cannot call someone up and tell them to do it. You have to be there. You have to engage. You have to walk the shop floor and feel the pain with them. We do a lot of training and upskilling and on everything we do to make sure that the people are comfortable with what they're doing. And you know, almost every single employee has some sort of smartphone in their pocket. So them picking up a device with Tulip or something else running on it is nothing for them. It's really easy, and we need to give them that benefit of the doubt and help them grow. And then we have to actually listen. So make sure that you incorporate what the operators and the end user is saying and actually put it into your solution. The change management voice of the customer, it's crucial. You've heard it thousands and thousands of times, but you've got to do it. And when we look at technology, it's similar to what Janice was saying. It's got to be easy to use, has to be scalable, and usage metrics need to be available. We need to know if we've built a new application, are they actually using it? If not, what broke? Or what do we need to do differently? How do we do that? And then we also have a way of measuring success on all of the projects that we're doing to make sure that it's actually worth the investment. And it absolutely is. So just keep in mind, humans at the center, and you can make sustainable change. And you need to be flexible because nothing ever goes the way you think it's going to. There's always going to be some deviation because you have all these humans involved. And it's a journey. So have fun.